In the chronicles of great empires, there are stories that time cannot erase. Accounts of battles, conquests, and powerful kings. But, hidden within the pages of the Book of Esther, there's a different story. A war not fought with swords and spears, but in the silence of integrity, in the secret of an identity, and in the courage of a prayer. Have you ever felt invisible? A mere servant amidst an empire of giants? Have you ever wondered if your small decisions, your silent no's against injustice, truly matter? Today's story is about a man named Mordecai, a Jewish exile in the heart of the most powerful empire on earth, the Persian Empire. A man who, with a single act of civil disobedience, ignited a crisis that threatened to wipe his people off the face of the earth. This message is for you who live under pressure, for you who feel compelled to bend your values, to negotiate your faith to fit in, or to survive in a hostile environment. For you who, perhaps, are wondering where God is amidst the chaos and the apparent victory of evil. Mordecai's strategy reveals how faithfulness in anonymity is God's training for moments of confrontation. It is a principle of positioning that the enemy of our souls detests, for he knows that a person with an upright posture before God can bring down giants. By the end of this video, we will uncover not only how Mordecai saved his people, but also how he activated a queen's purpose and instituted a celebration that spans millennia. And most importantly, we will discover the key he used to transform a decree of death into a decree of victory, a key that you can use in the battles of your own life. Welcome to a journey through the corridors of the Palace of Susa, the epicenter of a plot of genocide and a spectacular divine intervention. We will analyze the life of this forgotten hero, Mordecai, and extract from his conduct a manual of spiritual survival and victory for our days. Stay with me, for what we will learn today can forever change the way you see your own importance in God's plan. Mordecai's story begins without fanfare. He was just another Jew from the tribe of Benjamin, deported from Jerusalem, living as a low-ranking official, sitting at the king's gate, Esther 2:19. This was his daily life, a place of apparent insignificance. He was the guardian of his orphan niece, Hadassah, whom he loved and raised as his daughter, and who would later become Queen Esther. David shepherded sheep in anonymity. Do you also feel invisible in your daily routine? What many don't realize is that the place of anonymity is God's greenhouse. It is there that character is forged, faithfulness is tested, and ears become sensitive to the voice of the Father. While there, in his routine, Mordecai discovered a plot to assassinate King Ahasuerus, and, without seeking recognition, he reported it, saving the monarch's life. His act was recorded, but forgotten. What is God preparing in your anonymity, in your acts of faithfulness that no one sees? Do you believe that your faithfulness in the little things at work in your family is being recorded in heaven, even if men forget? The tranquility of routine is broken. King Ahasuerus promotes a man named Haman, an Agagite, a descendant of Agag, king of the Amalekites, historical enemies of Israel. The king orders everyone to bow down and prostrate themselves before Haman. And here, Mordecai's adventure begins. Not with a call to a distant land, but with an order to bow. His call was an invitation to compromise. His call was the pressure to abandon his covenant with Yhuah for reverence to a man. Abraham was called to leave Ur. Mordecai was called to stand firm in Susa. Which Haman, which system, which ideology is God asking you to refuse to worship? The text says that the king's servants asked Mordecai day after day, "Why do you transgress the king's command?" The pressure was continuous. The call to adventure is not always a glorious invitation. Sometimes it is an order to resist. Comment, "I am faithful," if you are willing to stand firm in your values, no matter the cost. Mordecai does not hesitate. He does not negotiate. His refusal is not an act of rebellion against the king, but an act of loyalty to a higher king. He informs the other servants that he is a Jew and therefore cannot bow. He understood that bowing to Haman, an Amalekite, would be to betray centuries of history and divine commandments. His refusal was not silent. It was a declaration of identity. Moses doubted his ability at Sinai. What fears might have tried to stop Mordecai? The fear of losing his job? The fear of being imprisoned? The fear of death? Yes, all of them. But the fear of Elohim was greater. Jonah fled his calling and found a storm. Mordecai stood firm in his calling, and a storm came to him. Fleeing or obeying both can bring conflict, but only obedience brings the presence of God in the storm. In this story, the master or mentor does not appear as an external figure, but as the divine wisdom that guides Mordecai. He does not act on impulse. His strategy is calculated, patient, and guided by a deep understanding of God's timing. When the decree of death is published, he does not despair. He tears his clothes, puts on sackcloth and ashes, and goes to the city square. He does not hide. He expresses his pain, but does not lose his faith. Your encounter with the Master is your connection to eternal purpose. It is when he sends the message to Esther, not as a request, but as a summons. He reminds her of her identity and her purpose. Do not imagine in your heart that you, in the king's palace, will escape any more than all the other Jews. And who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Esther 4:13-14. Elijah trained Elisha. Mordecai activated Esther. He was the mentor who reminded her who she was and why she was where she was. Who is your spiritual mentor? And for whom are you being a mentor? If you wish to be used by God to awaken purpose in others, follow this channel and comment divine purpose. The threshold is crossed when Esther, after Mordecai's confrontation, makes a decision that seals her destiny. She replies, "Go, gather all the Jews who are present in Susa and fast for me. Neither eat nor drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will fast likewise. And so I will go to the king, which is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." Esther 4:16. This is the point of no return. The queen decides to risk her life, not as a politician, but as an intercessor for her people. Joshua crossed the Jordan to conquer Canaan. Esther decided to cross the inner court to confront a king. Decisions of faith alter destinies. Mordecai, with his integrity, created the problem, and with his wisdom, he activated the solution. He could not enter the palace, but his influence, through Esther, could. Help us spread this message of courage. Like this video now to symbolize your yes to the challenges God places in your path. The trials are now intense. 3 days of fasting. The waiting, the uncertainty. The enemies led by Haman are confident in their victory. Haman, full of hatred, even builds a gallows more than 20 meters high to hang Mordecai. The lions from Mordecai and Esther were the king's decree, Haman's hatred, and the clock ticking against them. But they were not alone. Their allies were all the Jewish people, united in fasting and prayer. No one wins alone. The early church faced the Roman Empire with prayer and unity. Daniel faced the lion's den with a life of prayer. The first part of Mordecai and Esther's strategy was not political, it was spiritual. They moved heaven before they tried to move the king. Is your first reaction to a crisis despair or prayer? Tag 3 people in the comments who are your faith allies in difficult times. The darkness seems densest before dawn. Haman is ready to ask the king, the next morning, for Mordecai's execution. The extermination plan is underway. Humanly speaking, there is no hope. It is the Gethsemane of this story, the moment when all seems lost. How to react when disaster is imminent and the gallows are already built. But it is in the darkness that God's light intervenes in mysterious ways. The text says, "On that night the king could not sleep," Esther 6:1. What a powerful phrase. While the enemy planned death, the father took away the king's sleep. He orders the book of the Chronicles of the kingdom to be brought. And what is read to him? Exactly the record of the day Mordecai saved his life, an act that had never been rewarded. The supreme trial happens in 2 acts. The first, Haman's humiliation. In the morning, when he goes to ask for Mordecai's death, the king asks him, "What shall be done for the man whom the king delights to honor?" Haman, in his arrogance, describes a grand ceremony, thinking it was for him. The trial is to hear the king order, "Go therefore, and do thus for Mordecai the Jew." Haman is forced to publicly honor the man he hates most. The second act is the climax. At Esther's second banquet, the king offers her up to half the kingdom. And she finally makes her petition. "If I have found favor in your sight, O king, and if it pleases the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. For we have been sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be annihilated." Esther 7:3-4. She unmasked the genocide and points out the culprit, this wicked Haman. "Repeat after me aloud. No weapon formed against me shall prosper." The reward is immediate and devastating for the enemy. Divine justice is like lightning. The king, furious, orders Haman to be hanged on the very gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. Haman's house is given to Esther, and Mordecai is brought before the king, receives the signet ring that once belonged to Haman, and is appointed the second most powerful man in the empire. Caleb's promise to inherit the land he fought for is fulfilled. The reward for Mordecai's faithfulness was not just survival, it was exaltation. The Father not only delivers us from the gallows, he seats us in places of honor. The secret that Habakkuk 2-3 teaches us is that the vision is yet for the appointed time. Though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. The reward for your faithfulness is on its way. Comment "reward" to declare by faith that your time of honor is coming. The victory is not yet complete. Haman is dead, Mordecai is in power, but the decree of death against the Jews is still valid, for a law of the Medes and Persians could not be revoked. The work now is the work of reconstruction, of reversing the curse. Mordecai, now with the king's authority, drafts a new decree. This new decree does not annul the first, but gives the Jews the legal right to gather, to defend themselves, and to destroy any force that attacked them. Nehemiah rebuilt the physical walls of Jerusalem. Mordecai rebuilt the legal walls of protection for his people. Coming back from the brink of death is just the beginning. The next step is to legislate victory and ensure the threat does not return. What needed to revive was the hope and security of a people sentenced to death. The day that had been marked for their destruction, the 13th day of Adar, transforms into the day of their greatest victory. The text says that the opposite occurred, for the Jews gained mastery over those who hated them. Esther 9-1. They fought, defended themselves, and won. Sadness turned into joy, and mourning into a day of feasting. Lazarus came out of the tomb. The Jewish nation came out of its death sentence into a new life. Christ's resurrection shows us that the end, in God's hands, is always a new beginning. The day the enemy marks for your defeat, the Messiah transforms into the day of your greatest exaltation. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. The blessing, the secret that Mordecai and Esther bring back from their journey, is the institution of the Feast of Purim. They write letters to all the provinces, ordering the Jews to celebrate those days every year, so that they never forget the great deliverance. The blessing was not just for them, it was for all future generations. Paul wrote letters that build up the church to this day. Mordecai wrote letters that established an eternal memorial of God's deliverance. His story of pain became a manual of hope. His personal victory became a collective celebration. Sharing what God has done is not optional. It is a responsibility. Your story of overcoming can be the key to someone else's deliverance. But how could this solitary refusal trigger such a great crisis? The decision was in the hands of a woman. What would she do? While the people prayed, something incredible was happening behind the scenes of the palace. Justice seemed to have been done, but an even greater threat still hung over them. Brothers and sisters, the story of Mordecai teaches us that integrity under pressure is not just a virtue, it is a weapon of spiritual warfare. Your refusal to bow to the spirit of Haman in your generation, be it corruption, immorality, lies, can be the catalyst for the greatest deliverance your family and community have ever seen. You are not insignificant. Your stance matters to the Father. Stop thinking that you need a position or a title to make a difference. Mordecai was just a gatekeeper when he refused to bow. God does not look for prominent people. He looks for positioned people. Position yourself in faith, in holiness, in integrity, and see the Lord fight for you. Mordecai's journey from gatekeeper to prime minister shows us that faithfulness in little things prepares us to govern over much. He teaches us that even when God seems silent, God's name is not mentioned even once in the book of Esther. His hand is orchestrating every detail behind the scenes. A king's insomnia, the reading of a chronicle, the courage of a queen, all cooperating for the good of those who love him. If this message has strengthened your faith to stand firm, subscribe now to the channel and activate the bell, because we will continue to bring powerful revelations to equip you on your journey. Share this video with 5 people who need to be reminded that their silent faithfulness is making a noise in heaven. Let's inspire an army of Mordecais in this generation. And comment below, #EdoNotBow to declare your decision to honor God above all else. For if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. Yet who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Esther 4:14.